Hey there, how are you? I can tell you that I am drained. I'm drained. So, I will tell you a story that happened to me probably last week. I think it was last week. I was all set to go to bed. My pump was on, my CGM was on, everything was good. My sugar was fine. I went to bed, and when I woke up in the morning, I was at 400. Apparently, during the night, I somehow pulled my site out and I wasn't getting insulin for, I don't know, because the pump thought I was getting insulin. Obviously, it's going through the tube, it's just not getting into me, right? And I knew it was not going to be a good day, but I had said previously that I was going to work through that. I was not, I was going to try and not let it get me down. I was going to look forward, and I wasn't just going to lay in bed and, let my body sleep. I was just going to move forward. So I checked my sugar with my meter. Truly, it was at 400. I gave myself a manual shot, with a syringe, and I, put back my insulin pump. This is what I typically do when something happens like this. But I knew that by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was going to go low. And I don't know about you, but when my sugar's that high, I do not want to eat. I'm not hungry. My body is like, I don't want anything but water. That's all I want. Obviously, to, flush your system out, right? So I have a list of things I want to talk to my endo about the next time I see him, which is next month. August, next month. And I was going through my emails, and I got an email from my insulin company, Medtronics. And it said, these are some tips that you can do when your sugar's low, when your sugar's high. These are the steps you can take. So one of the steps was to take a manual shot and put back your insulin pump. And I thought, well, I didn't realize I could call them and they can tell me how to work this out so that I don't go low in the middle of, or the early afternoon time. And I called, and I, waited online, and, it was a little while, but I was like, oh, okay, other people have questions, other things have to be worked out, so I'll just wait my time. I was cool with that. But the person I got online just kept telling me that the insulin pump would recognize my blood sugar immediately as long as I had the insulin pump and the CGM hooked up. Of Granted, that is true. The minute that they can communicate, the insulin pump is going to recognize that my sugar is high. But what the insulin pump doesn't recognize is that I just gave myself a bolus. And the pump's job is to bolus until I'm in, in range, in my average range. And so I kept telling him that that wasn't the issue, that the issue is, how do I tell the pump that I have already given myself insulin that it doesn't know about? And he said, oh, it'll take care of itself. And he got me so upset that my next question was, are you diabetic? And he paused and he said, no. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I want to talk to somebody else. So he said, sure, no problem. So I waited online even longer. But the person I got this next time, I don't know if she was a supervisor or more experienced or had diabetes. I'm not sure. But our connection was bad. It was really bad. So she said, I'll call you back in 5 minutes, but our number, our 800 number, call me back if I can't get through. I don't know exactly what's wrong with the phone. Okay. She does call me back and we start talking. And she says to me, okay, so what you're telling me, and she repeats back to me exactly what I said to her. Your sugar is high. You give yourself a manual bolus. And then you put your insulin pump in and you calibrate it to make sure it knows where you are. And by mid-afternoon, you're low. And I'm like, yeah. And she says, okay, so there's one of two things you can do. So number one is the one I suggest, would be if you give yourself a manual bolus, of course, at that high, make sure you test your ketones, right? But secondly, don't put your pump back in for 2 hours or maybe 1.5, because you know that when you put your insulin in we have fast acting insulin now, right? We don't have the MPH and the regular anymore, right? I don't know if you know about that, but the NPH, and I honestly don't know what it stands for, but I heard this years ago, not particularly helpful. It kept me alive, so I mean, it was helpful, but that's the anagram that they used for it. So the NPH was like your basal, and then the regular was your bolus. And so you would put in NPH and regular together. They would figure out the combination. You need X amount for your basal and X amount for your bolus. And this is your diet, right? So anyway, the point is that we have fast acting insulin now. We don't have the MPH and the regular, right? So the regular insulin will stay in your, I'm sorry, I don't want to confuse you. the fast acting insulin will stay in your system for approximately 2 hours. So it doesn't really do what regular used to do, which is, peak and then come down. And the MPH would kind of like just stay, kind of level, right? So this stays level, but it acts faster. So, um, so she tells me, so you can do that, like 1.5 to 2 hours, then unsuspend your pump. And, well, you can set it to, for a temporary basal, right? So I can tell it to not give me insulin for 1.5 to 2 hours. So I don't have to remember, oh my gosh, it's 2 hours, let me do it, and then go back up. My sugar goes back up, right? Or you can um you can eat a carbohydrate around 12 or 1 o'clock to keep that insulin from going too low. Don't bolus for it, but in order for it not to go too low, which is, below 70, you can have a carb. That was the answer I was looking for. That is absolutely doable for me. That makes perfect sense to me. And the point I'm trying to make with this story is this is your life, this is your body, and don't accept what someone is telling you if it doesn't make sense to you. If you don't understand what someone is telling you, or it doesn't fit into your lifestyle, then you keep looking for answers and you keep asking other people, that doesn't work for me. How else can I handle that? That doesn't work for me. How else can it be? Because you're in control. You're a human being who has a disease, type 1 diabetes, and you need to manage it as well as your life and your health and everything else that goes around with it. Don't just sit there and say, oh, okay, I guess I have to sacrifice, or every single time that this happens to me, I know I'm going to go low. No, you don't need to do that. You need to find the right people to have in your circle that click with you, that the doctor is who you believe knows or you can click with, that they understand you, you understand them, and it works with your life, right? And I think that is a really important part of being a diabetic. I know that so many people, and the one person is my sister. What the doctor says is set in stone. And you have to remember that doctor is a human being too. He's not God. He is a human being. He makes mistakes. And your life is in your hands. And so when someone says something to you that doesn't make sense and that you don't understand what that does or how that's going to work, question it. And if that answer isn't right, question it again in a different way, in the same way, to someone else, to somebody else. However, you need to get that answer that works for you, you should do it. And I hope that this actually helps you in some way or form. And I got another story to tell you on Wednesday. Something that happened to me on Sunday. Saturday. Something that happened to me on Saturday. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. I did. And I will see you on Wednesday. Have a great night. Bye.